All right, good evening, everybody. All right, let me just clip the microphone on and we will get started. Today is August 6, 2023. It is a Sunday, and I want to welcome you all to Canal Street. So we're actually giving ourselves a little bit of a head start tonight. Now, if you remember correctly, last night, I thought it was a really fun stream. We got a pretty extensive walking tour of Soho. We got a walking tour of Little Italy, Chinatown, and then we actually got to go over the Manhattan Bridge, which was great. So I think it's appropriate for tonight we go over the second bridge, which is the Manhattan Bridge. So I wanted to give ourselves a little bit of time here to do that. So we're actually starting off the live stream on Canal Street. And if you notice all the traffic, it kind of makes sense, right? Because Canal Street takes you to the tunnel, which would take you out to New Jersey. And it's Sunday night, so a lot of people are going home. It was a very busy day in the city today. A lot of tourists out. A lot of tourist activity, lots of people in the city. Restaurants were packed. People were out spending money. It was a really, really cool day. Now, I was actually down here in Tribeca. I was at a particular building that we may do a deal in. It is called 5 Franklin Place. So I want to walk you guys past that building today. It's very interesting. I'll tell you why. The street. So if you literally look up 5 Franklin Place or just Franklin Place on Google Maps, the street is actually totally private to the building, which I never knew that before. So if you want to drive a car or anything on that street, you have to be a resident of the building particularly. A few other things that are interesting, which we'll get to tonight. For some reason I'm getting a buffering signal here, so I may have to move. Well, I guess we'll just continue on anyway. I'm not sure if it's buffering or not. But this week on Wall Street's going to be very busy. Not really as it relates to corporate earnings. There's going to be a few companies that are notable that are going to be reporting, such as Walt Disney. It's probably going to be the biggest one, which is coming up on Thursday. But we're going to get a lot of inflation data, and I think that's really important because inflation, although it is coming down in the United States, it is a little bit sticky as it relates to food inflation and shelter inflation. So if you think about Thursday, which is going to be August 10th already, kind of crazy to think about, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is going to release the CPI numbers. Now, consensus is for CPI to increase about 3.3% year over year. Look, it's a lot better than 9.1% about, in June of 2022. Now, if you type !CPI in the chat, again, this is a great resource. It's going to take you to the link, essentially a 12-month rolling average of CPI. And if you look all the way to when inflation peaked in the United States, that was in June of 2022 when CPI came in at 9.1%. The latest CPI reading that we've got was actually for June of 2023, which came in at a reading of 3% even. So, you could argue that new monetary policies of tightening monetary policy by the Federal Reserve is actually working to help bring down inflation. I think that's an undeniable fact. But if you look at it by category, the two main categories that I think really impact everyday Americans, such as myself and many of you watching the stream, is probably going to be shelter costs, and number 2, it's going to be food. Now, the good news is it seems to be that the housing market and the rental markets are starting to soften. I think it's going to take a while for really that to show up in the data because real estate is illiquid, right, relative to equities. So if a trader on Wall Street or analysts on Wall Street, portfolio managers, whatever you want to call it, want to reprice these assets in terms of equities, it's going to be very easy to do that because they're very liquid instruments. Real estate, it takes a lot of time. right? It's not like you could just log on to your Charles Schwab account, your Interactive Brokers account, and click market sell on your house, right? It's an illiquid asset. You have to market the house, you have to list it with an agent, so it takes a lot of time to do that. So that's why, equities tend to move first, and then real estate tends to, follow after and be a little bit lagging. What else I got for you guys? Okay, we'll check futures. It is about 9:12 p.m. If you take a look at the ticker symbol ES, that is the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract, and we are about flat. S&P is trading at 4,512. We're up about 14 points. If you go over to the NQ futures contract for the NASDAQ 100, we are up about 75 points, 15,429 for the NASDAQ 100. And last but not least, the Dow 30, ticker symbol YM. We are also about flat, up 67 points. Dow is trading at 35,220. We'll take a look at some commodities. Crude oil futures, ticker symbol CL, trading $83 a barrel. Now, what's interesting about this is if you go back to May 4th of 2023, for a brief second throughout the trading day, we actually went all the way to $63 a barrel, which is kind of wild on crude oil. And since then, we've rallied quite significantly. And I think that's probably going to reflect in the CPI numbers that are going to be coming out this week. I mean, that's a, 30% rally in crude oil. That's probably going to translate to higher energy prices. We'll see. Trading back above the 50-day, the 200-day, and the 100-day moving average. Let's see what gold is doing. Gold is trading just under $2,000 an ounce at 1942. We'll check silver, SLV, $21.66. Let's check platinum. $927 for platinum. Okay, I think before we really kick this off, the last thing we got to do since it is Sunday is go to cnbc.com/bonds. We'll take a look at the yield curve, and we'll also check in on that 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now, if you look at U.S. Treasuries, it looks like a 1-year U.S. Treasury is yielding 5.379%. The main spread between the 10 and the 2s, 2-year Treasury is yielding 4.8%. And the 10-year is yielding 4.064%. Now, a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage tracks very closely the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield. So if we go 30-year fixed, if my computer would load. So the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage in the United States, according to Bankrate.com, is 7.32% for a 30-year fixed. It's pretty expensive. Now, obviously, assuming that some people have lower credit scores than that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, these deals are going for 7.5. All right, let me go ahead and close up my laptop here. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. Once again, this is Canal Street, and we are going to be headed towards the Brooklyn Bridge tonight. I think we're going to have more than enough time to walk across the bridge, which I'm looking forward to. So allow me one moment, and we will get started. All right. Now, anybody else in New York today was struggling with allergies? For whatever reason, it was extremely windy, and I feel like there was a lot of pollen in the air. I was sneezing all day. So if I sound a little bit congested, I do apologize. But man, it was, I feel like it was a very poor air quality day. It was a very hot day. So if I sound a little bit congested, I do apologize for that. All right, let's say hello to everybody. That's the most important thing. Can't forget that. I see Zane is here, TJ, British Gray, the one and only from Tampa, Florida. Carlos Ramos is here, LB, everything in Miami. Good to see you, sir. Our real estate expert in Miami and New York is in the house. Capri is here, welcome, welcome. Holmes, good to see you. Joey B. Says, love this channel, thank you. Joey, appreciate it. All right, hold on, towards the Holland Tunnel, because look at some of the views you get. This is the Empire State Building. That is a bang-on view. I mean, the Empire State Building looks absolutely gorgeous today. Yeah, I mean, Michael Joseph, I did see that Ackman short bond trade is interesting. You know, I like Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a very controversial guy on Wall Street, and you know, a lot of people get into it with Ackman. A lot of people get into it with Bill Ackman. For those of you who don't know who Bill Ackman is, he is the CEO and founder of Pershing Square. Very successful hedge fund. Their most notable trade as of late was their major short position on the S&P 500 going into the coronavirus pandemic. I think Pershing Square made over $1 billion on that trade alone. This is a gorgeous view of One World Trade Center here. And again, this is the Canal Street subway station. You can get the 1 train. You can also get the A train. And all these cars are waiting to get on to the Holland Tunnel. But I think besides all of that, most people probably remember Bill Ackman from that insane back and forth banter he was having with Carl Icahn on CNBC over his short position and essentially his bear thesis on Herbalife. Now, for those of you who don't know what Herbalife is, I think the company is still around, and essentially the company is one of those MLM style schemes, if you will, right? Where it's sort of like a pyramid. So they sell like nutrition products, and in the short thesis, which was actually very compelling, I've read it, the short thesis essentially says that, or alleges, I'll say alleges, that Herbalife was specifically targeting minority communities to market these products. And essentially, like, you have these, it's a really weird and convoluted system. It's sort of like a pyramid scheme, so to speak, but you got to say allegedly, where people would coerce other people into buying these products, and then they would try to sell those products to other people. But every time you sold the product, the other people would be onboarded under you, and you would get a cut of their sales. So it was like a classic pyramid style scheme in a way. This is the Jenga building. This building is really, really unique. We're actually going to walk right under it today as we go to 5 Franklin Place. But yeah, I think that's probably what Bill Ackman is most known for in terms of Main Street knows him for. That big back and forth on CNBC over Herbalife. I don't even know if Herbalife is still around. I remember back in the day they used to sponsor a soccer team, Major League Soccer team called the Los Angeles Galaxy. Anybody remember that? Now, the only reason why I know that is because this was way back. Does anybody remember when David Beckham first came to the MLS? I remember because I have his jersey, I bought it. And the Los Angeles Galaxy was sponsored by this company, Herbalife. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter in any event. Daryl says, Tom, have you found a new apartment? It's a good question, not yet, but I have, but not really. I don't want to sign a 12-month lease just yet. I'm still looking around, so I'm just renting month by month for now. But as you know, I'm no longer near the Hudson Yards. Hey, Road Dog is here, welcome. Joseph Hardaway, it's good to see you. Freddie says they are still in business. Keith says big money for fancy vitamins. Steph says it's a typical multi-level marketing scheme. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what Ackman alleged, but in a technical sense, I guess what they said is it's not technically illegal. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, I think any type of MLM scheme is sort of a steer clear. Stay away from it. Anyway, hey, Mike C says no Miami trips in the future, Tom. You know, I really miss Miami. I actually tweeted about this today. I really miss it, even in the summer. I should be there next week, but only for a couple days. Now, it's sort of like a blessing and a curse a little bit. Check out these beautiful loft-style apartments, which we were talking about yesterday. It's a blessing because I've actually been assigned to some really big projects here in New York. But the curse is that means I'm going to have to spend a lot of time here. But I love New York City, but I also want to spend time in Miami too. So hopefully, as you know, the years progress, I want to set up my life where I could essentially just spend half my time, 6 months in New York, 6 months in South Florida. We'll see. But yeah, we'll probably be there just for maybe like a weekend next week. Hopefully, please God. All right, so we're gonna go to the corner with the McDonald's and then we're gonna make a right. Hey, I see George Hernandez is here. What's up? Good to see you. Capri says Tom, Hudson Yards is apartments for $3,000. Yeah, it's just, and we sort of talked about this yesterday. And I don't want to be too negative, but you know, the area in and around the Moynihan train station, let's just say, is not the best. Specifically at night. It's a lot of drugs, very dirty. Unfortunately. So, yeah. Brian's how's the weather? It was hot. It was a scorcher today. Absolute scorcher in the city, that's for sure. GGNYC says that area is awful. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move up near you. GG to the Upper West Side, but the thing is I can't really sign a 12-month lease yet. Can't do that right now. Michael says, my wife and I love these walks. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's a pretty clear night out in the city. So as we're walking over the Brooklyn Bridge, we should have pretty much clear views all the way to the Hudson Yards, Billionaires Row. So we're looking forward to that. We actually walked past this restaurant last night. If you look really closely, let me actually zoom in on this. This is so cool. You see that sort of cone, like that white cone in the background? That's actually the Chrysler building. It's kind of cool. You can see it all the way from here. Austin City Limits, what's up? Michael Joseph says riot in Union Square made headlines. Yeah, I saw that. Now, I did a little bit of research into it. And surprisingly, you know, it was a lot worse than I thought, actually. I don't think the particular streamer had any malicious intent whatsoever. I just think I think his fan base are like teenagers. They're kids, so I think they're a little bit immature. So when you have, you know, thousands of teenagers in one place, things get rowdy, and you know, they were vandalizing things. But look, I don't think the what did you say? The host of the stream? I don't think he has malicious intent. I just think it was the audience may just be a little bit immature, and it got way out of hand. You know, I was actually at Gramercy North, which is 23rd Street at the time, and I didn't really understand what was going on, because there was even people all the way down at 23rd Street, and there was all helicopters all over the place too. But anyway. Hey, Dave in Maine, what's up? Good to see you, Dave. All right, we're gonna head directly down here now. This is Broadway and Canal Street. And in this building actually used to be the old WeWork office. Does anyone remember that? We used to start the live streams right off in this building to the left. But what I wanna briefly do on our way to the Brooklyn Bridge I want to show you this very unique development. Now, the development is a few years old. It's all into resales now, but it's called Franklin Place. The exact address is 5 Franklin Place. Now, what I didn't know about this particular building is that the street is actually private to the residences, which I never knew before. It's a cool little alley. It's very tucked away. It's extremely, I would say, it has a very Tribeca feel to it, as you'll see. Maybe the WeWork is still in operation. I thought it got sold. Yeah, we used to go right in here. 408 Broadway. Very cool. Hey, Muhammad is here. Abdullah, what's up? Hey, Dan Sang, what's up? Let me see what Dan Zhang says. Hey Tom, how was your day? Oh, no way. Dude, well, congrats. Text me or DM me and let me know what the change is, or how could I be of assistance. That's exciting. That's cool. Now, is the career change going to bring you into Manhattan, or are you going to be in a whole different state? Maybe, just maybe, we'll persuade you to go out to Miami. Who knows? But congrats on that, though, man. It's you know, a lot of people that I know, including myself, have been making career changes lately. I think maybe that I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's just the cycle. Hey, Marty Lewis is here. Says hello, Tom. What's up? Good to see you, Marty. Thanks for joining us. It was a scorcher today in Manhattan. It was roasting here. All right, look at these fire escapes here. These buildings are gorgeous. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? Good to see you, Brad. So I think what we'll do really quick is just to sort of preface where we are, because as we know, this week coming up, we are going to have some inflation data coming out, which is one of the most important things that the Federal Reserve looks at as they make their decision to influence monetary policy. So as of right now, if you look at the Fed funds rate, we are in a target range of 5.25% to 5.5%. And the vast majority of economists are sort of in consensus here that this is going to be the top of the hiking cycle. Now, I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about that. I definitely am in the camp of higher for longer. I do not think the Federal Reserve and Fed Chair Jerome Powell are just going to start to cut rates immediately. I think some people are thinking that. Oh, look at this. The whole building is for sale. Let's actually step across the street and check it out. But I am definitely in the higher for longer camp. I wouldn't be surprised if we go even, a half a year to a year with multiple FOMC meetings coming and going, and instead of raising interest rates, the Federal Reserve could just hold steady. And I think over the long term, that could cause potentially some major pain in the commercial real estate sector specifically, as it relates to office. Now, I want you guys to do some research here. Look at the percentage of commercial loans that are going to need to be refinanced over the next 24 months. It is quite a stunning amount, and that could be quite concerning, right, for multiple reasons. Number one, obviously, interest rates are much, much higher. So if you need to refinance all of that debt, well, guess what? You're not going to get the extremely low, QE, quantitative easing, infinity rates. You're going to get these much, much more expensive rates. So money is not inexpensive anymore. Money is very expensive. Now, that's not the only reason. This dog is adorable here. Look at that. I wonder what breed that is. Sort of looks like a mix of a poodle. But anyway, that's not the only reason why this is so concerning. Because you also have to think about debt servicing and how you're going to service that debt and how these companies are going to make those payments. And one of the things that we've been seeing, not exclusive to New York, I don't want it to seem like I'm dumping on New York all the time, but in Manhattan, it is a reality that we have very, very high office vacancy rates. Now, some of the highest office vacancy in Manhattan is actually in and around the Moynihan Train Hall, which is 34th Street, 7th and 8th Avenue, but the highest office vacancy in the city is actually in Lower Manhattan. So could you imagine, right? Could you imagine the situation that some people are going to be in, that they need to refinance their debt at extremely high interest rates, all while vacancies are near all-time record highs in the city? Could be a pretty big problem. Now, I don't think you're not seeing a lot of issues yet, right? Because they don't have to refinance just yet. But when they do, and assuming interest rates stay higher for longer, this could be a big issue. I don't know, any thoughts on that before we continue on over the Brooklyn Bridge? This is another great shot of the Empire State Building and the Roxy Hotel right on the corner of Church Street. Has anybody stayed at the Roxy? Lila is here, says good evening, Tom and everybody. Hey, Lila. Michael Joseph says it's incredible, the vacancy compared to 10 years ago. Yeah, it's wild, right? And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these condo conversion plans going on. Madison 32 says, Tom, I mentioned LSEA to you a couple weeks ago. It's been moving up. BlackRock is helping out with a $250 million private placement. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just not too familiar with it. What was that? See, sometimes there's just so much trash in New York that you're sort of just like shuffling your feet through garbage and you're kicking things around. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'm not too familiar with the company, but I'm assuming it's a home builder. And the market has actually been pulling back, but one of the only two sectors that have been relatively strong is actually the home builders still, which is kind of wild. Hey, Austin City Limits says, Tom, what do you think about the USA rating dropping? I don't really think too much of it. And look, I've gotten a lot of emails from you guys. Look, we can disagree. Like, that's totally okay. And you guys are probably right. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong. That's totally possible. The stream is not about me being the expert. It's about just having an open conversation about the markets and walking around the city. So I sort of put my opinion on this on the stream last night, and many of you sent me some emails, which I do appreciate, by the way. Very, very, well written and concise emails that we should be very, very concerned about the downgrade, right, in terms of U.S. credit quality. Now, maybe we should, okay? But again, the way I explain it and the way I interpret it, and it doesn't mean I'm right, but the way I interpret it is, what is the next best thing? It's almost like the U.S. is the only game in town. I still go by that saying, when the United States sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. So if you really have turmoil in the financial markets and in the financial system in the US, well, what do you think's going on in the rest of the world, right? So the US is a beacon of stability for the rest of the world. So, a downgrade doesn't really concern me all that much, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Guys, this is Leonard Street. I think this is 57 Leonard. This building is super, super unique. It's nicknamed the Jenga building. Check it out. And it kind of looks like a Jenga puzzle with all the balconies and the terraces sticking out. Super, super unique building. Now here's the downside, and everybody already knows what I'm going to say. This little bean sculpture here, this is like New York City's Chicago bean sculpture, like the bean. And now it is completely covered and encased in scaffolding, just like every other building in this city and across the street. So you really can't enjoy it now because it's covered in kind of hideous scaffolding. But anyway, the former CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond actually used to have an apartment in this building. Very, very tragic. Sort of what happened, that story there. But it's a very sought after and very, very highly coveted building. We'll take a look at the bean. There's the front entrance there. I would say this is one of the more desirable buildings right here in Tribeca. Yeah, somebody's commenting on this. I don't know if this was damaged when they were putting up the scaffolding or what, but it does kind of look a little bit, it looks like something fell on it, but I don't know if that's just because the scaffolding hit it. Who knows? Hey, Brad's Brains says, I'm in your camp, Tom. I can see folks' concern. I just disagree with it. It's not irrational. Yeah, I mean, did anybody see Warren Buffett's statement on the issue? Somebody sent me a direct message on Twitter, and Warren Buffett essentially is in the same camp. He doesn't see a major concern with it, but I think down the line, maybe what could be a concern is if the United States loses its position as sort of the world's superpower or the top dog essentially in just the global economy, which I'm not in the camp that'll happen. There's many people that speculate that the US dollar is going to lose its position as the world's reserve currency. I don't see that at all. Now again, maybe I'm wrong. So it's okay to disagree. Maybe you guys are right. The US dollar will lose its spot as the world's reserve currency. I'm just not seeing it. And you would know, okay? If anybody is familiar with the good old military-industrial complex, we won't talk about it too much because the stream will get demonetized. Well, the stream is already demonetized. I mean, the stream will get taken down. But in my view, if the US dollar, if the petrodollar was really ever in direct threat of losing its reserve currency status, we would know about it if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, there would 100% be war over that. I mean, we go to war for things that are fake, right? Now, I don't want to get too political, but weapons of mass destruction, which were never materialized. So we go to war for things less severe. Okay, so if you think for a second there wouldn't be some sort of hot conflict if our world reserve currency was actually ever threatened. Now, I'm not saying that's right or it's wrong or whatnot. I'm just stating a very blunt observation, and I like to give it to you straight, and I don't censor my opinions. Those are my opinions. So all right, we have a couple more blocks until we are at the World Trade Center. Jenny Trickett is here. What's up? Look at this building. This building is absolutely gorgeous. Hey, Silva is here. Welcome. Marcos says, Tom, you won't go to Korea anymore. Why not? Jacqueline is here. Says, hey, Tom, what's up? Wake Dog says, if you haven't figured it out, we're in a new Cold War with Russia and China, and Africa just jumped in on the train. I don't think you're wrong. Honestly, I don't think you're wrong at all. Not to get too political, but yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah, I think you're right. Western Mass Davis here, what's up? It's good to see you. Christina says, what's up, Tom? What's up, Christina? Let me catch up on some of the chats. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Hey, Resident of the Abyss, what's up? Blues Writer, what's up? Yeah, so Brad's brain makes a good point. Says China is not in the position to take this mantle from us right now. They are experiencing unemployment and GDP issues of their own. Well, the big problem with China started with their one-child policy. That really totally royally screwed them. China's biggest issue right now, in my view, is population collapse. And if you haven't noticed, there's a really, really high correlation between GDP growth and the growth of essentially a middle class of a nation and population growth. So yeah, I think that's going to be a very, very big issue. All right, Church Street, you can see the top of One World Trade Center. Looks beautiful tonight. Spencer says, are you going to walk the whole bridge? I think we're going to try. I really want to get you guys all the way across the bridge to Dumbo. I think there's some really good views. I think the, what do you call it? Sort of like the Brooklyn Bridge Park is really beautiful, near Jane's Carousel and all that. I think it'd be really cool to take you guys over there. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a walk around Olympia Dumbo, which is a brand new development, which is actually one of my favorite new developments in all of New York City, by the way. Jay Bears here, what's up? But if you want to talk about an emerging market that I am actually very, very bullish on, I think we've sort of discussed this before, but I am very, very optimistic and bullish on India. Couple reasons why. Number one, population growth, and they have a very forward-looking, I would say, point of view on prioritizing education, so a very, very educated populace and a booming and expanding middle class. Just like in the United States, there is a significant or a significantly high correlation between GDP growth and growth in corporate earnings, right? So just generally speaking, if you want to talk about the S&P 500, for example, the reason why traders and portfolio managers on Wall Street look at leading economic indicators is because if they can predict GDP growth in the United States, there's an extreme high probability that they're going to make money in the market on the long side, right? Because if GDP is growing in the United States, there's a 70% chance that corporate earnings in the US are also going to expand. And what drives stock prices higher? Well, it's liquidity and it's earnings power, it's earnings growth. Okay, if company XYZ earned $10 last year and they're set to earn $25 next year, chances are that stock is probably going to go higher, right? Generally speaking. So if you can look for parts of the world that are continuously growing their population, growing out a robust middle class, very focused on education, very big educated populace, expanding middle class, expanding GDP, corporate earnings are probably going to grow, and that means markets will probably grow as well. So I'm very excited about India. Now, one of the other reasons, and really quickly, I want to show you guys this restaurant here. This is on the corner of Barclay Street. This is Wolfgang Puck's restaurant. It's called Cut. Very cool. Let's actually check some of the prices here. What do we got for dinner? Let me know if you guys can see that.
Looks like an 8-ounce filet mignon's $105. Dry aged ribeyes, $110. Look at that. I think that's a porterhouse for $245. That's a premium steakhouse right there. It's pretty expensive. But again, Wolfgang Puck, you're sort of also paying for the brand name, right? Richard Vogel says Wolfgang is a ripoff artist, really? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a very, very famous chef. Has anybody ever been to this restaurant? I've never been. But the prices seem pretty high, didn't they? I mean, I think I read that right. I think it was like $200 for one of those. Photos from around the York says, Tom, $105 is too much. All you need is an iron skillet and butter. That's true. Maybe you're probably paying more for the brand name, right? Now that's a pretty good lesson in branding, right? When you think Wolfgang Puck, it's just the name in and of itself. You're probably more so paying for that. Now, I'm assuming that the steaks are fantastic. I'm not saying that the steaks are not going to be great. But is it $265 great? I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. Yeah, Silva says if you can afford it, then good for you. But for me, it's a hard pass. Zane says you're paying for the experience. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it seemed like there was a decent amount of people in there. I know, Michelle B says, good grief, that's crazy prices. Now, I was, it wasn't really like an outing. It was like a team, it wasn't really like even a team event. It was like 5 of us that went. And at some of these upscale bars on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, did you guys know cocktails, like one cocktail, I don't drink alcohol, but like one cocktail could be like $17. That was pretty surprising to me. I'm not trying to come off as like, you know, super stingy and cheap, but my God, $17? That's crazy. I mean, at least in my opinion, it's crazy. I think it's kind of funny that we're on that that topic, because this week we're actually going to get CPI inflation data out. Zane says, Tom, $17 is a very typical price here in San Francisco. Jack says, yeah, 17 isn't a bad price for New York City drinks. And I would also suspect that, you know, I'll give you an example. Now, this I do actually recommend, so it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but whatever. If you go into Grand Central Station, I've said this multiple times, there's a really cool sort of cocktail bar in there. It's called the Campbell Bar or the Campbell Apartments. That place is very expensive, but if you're waiting for the train, you know, to go upstate New York on the Metro North, and you haven't been there before, if it's like a Friday night and you put in a ton of work throughout the week, I think you would enjoy it. I think it's worth the money for the experience, the ambiance, the environment. I think it's kind of cool. Mikey G says you still spend $10 for a beer at the ballpark. Yeah, it's insanity. Yeah, we might as well move on to the inflation topic. I think it's a pretty good segue. I'll quickly explain where we are. We are right outside of the gorgeous Oculus. This is a mall, this is a train station, and you could also get the PATH train that'll take you all the way to New Jersey. You have absolutely gorgeous views of one of my favorite buildings of all time. This is One World Trade Center. This is absolutely fantastic here. Now, to the right of One World Trade Center is BMCC. It is called Borough of Manhattan Community College. It is in the City University New York system. All right, maybe we'll avoid that. We'll go this way because we got to go to the Brooklyn Bridge anyway. And right down here, a little bit of financial history for all of you. Now, after the great financial crisis of 2008, the Occupy Wall Street movement actually happened right here at Zuccotti Park, right here. And the best sort of mini documentary series about the financial crisis, in my opinion, was produced by Reason TV. I'll say that one more time. It was produced by Reason TV, and the host was Peter Schiff. Many of you know who Peter Schiff is. For those of you who don't, he was the founder and CEO of Euro Pacific Capital and Euro Pacific Bank. Peter Schiff has a great podcast. It's called The Peter Schiff Show, and he also owns Schiff Gold. He's a big gold bug. He's a big, commodities guy, precious metals guy. And I think his father actually wrote a book as well. And the US federal government threw his dad in jail for not paying income taxes because Fred Schiff argued that federal income tax is unconstitutional. But if you type in Peter Schiff, I am the 1%, there's about a 2-hour mini documentary series of Peter Schiff interviewing a lot of these Occupy Wall Street protesters. And if you remember that time, 2010, 2011, as we were emerging out of the great financial crisis, out of the Great Recession, the financial media was trying to spin this narrative to sort of pin the American people against each other. But if you watch that documentary, a lot of the Occupy Wall Street protesters agree and sort of have the same directive, right? There was a lot of end the Fed people there, which is sort of kind of in the boat that I sit in. I'm not a big fan of the Federal Reserve at all. Not a big fan of modern monetary theory, essentially printing a bunch of money. Not a fan of central banking, not a fan of artificially suppressed interest rates, which is sort of what caused the financial crisis in and of itself. You could say the irrational exuberance, the Fed throwing fuel on this fire. But anyway, I'll sort of digress on that. But if you want to watch it, it's free. It's free on the internet. It's Peter Schiff, I Am the 1%. And it was filmed live here, right here at Liberty Street. Kind of cool. Mark says, weren't they Tea Party protesters? I think it was called Occupy Wall Street protesters. I'm not sure if there was Tea Party protesters there. It was a ton of people here. And I remember it went on for months. Right in this park. You know what? Since we're down here, I want to take you guys to this FDNY firehouse. They did such an amazing job. Did a little bit of a memorial and tribute to all the firefighters who lost their lives on 9/11. I think it's such a powerful tribute and monument and memorial. Since we're here, I might as well give you guys a quick look. I don't think I've showed you guys in a long time. I think the last time I've taken you all the way down here maybe was last 9/11 actually. So DC 322 says pretty much they were against the rich during the months of the occupation. Yeah, but I think the narrative, right, was that, all rich people are bad, rich people are horrible. But at the end of the day, I think many protesters got that confused with who the real enemy is. And the real enemy is the Federal Reserve that sort of created this whole mess in the first place. And I think they're in the process of creating another mess, but that'll be a topic for another night. But more importantly, much, much more importantly, check this out. I think this is so powerful. Look at this. This is the 9/11 memorial on the side of an FDNY firehouse that is literally adjacent One World Trade. Now I'll give you guys a closer look at the memorial so you can see the actual names that are sort of inscribed into the wall, but look at the detail on that. I know, Steph UH, isn't it awesome? I think they did a really good job. The attention to detail on this is pretty wild. give you a quick look from this angle. You could see the Twin Towers here.
Firefighter's Memorial Wall, 56 feet long, 6 feet tall.
It's very nice, yeah.
Made from 148 photographs taken in 2001. 22 years ago.
It's kind of wild that this was 22 years ago. It's almost unbelievable. Now this is really something here. Look at this. Let me just make sure my camera is focused. Sometimes it's hard to see if it's focused. Let me know in the chat if the my focus is on. I don't know if it's blurry. I don't know if you can read the names or not, but this is right on the corner of Liberty Street. This is Ladder Company 10, Engine Company 10. So you could only imagine what these guys went through on September 11, 2001. I think that's a really nice tribute they did there. It's amazing. I think it's a good reminder of just what an amazing, fire department we have here in New York City, the best in the business, the best in the world. New York's bravest. Very appreciative for the FDNY, absolutely. But also the NYPD too. I like the doors here, the garage doors on Ladder Company 10, this big American flag. It looks awesome. Yeah, I thought I'd quickly pop you guys over there. I don't think I've showed that in a long time on the stream. Yeah, I can't believe it's going to be 22 years. Can you guys believe that? It's wild. That's almost unbelievable, actually. I can't even... Time just goes by. Time is almost an illusion now. But a lot of people don't realize this, especially a lot of non-New Yorkers. What a lot of non-New Yorkers don't realize about 9/11 is it's not only the 3,000 plus people that were killed, it's actually a lot more than that. Construction workers, people who work in Lower Manhattan, people who went to school in Lower Manhattan have developed all of these 9/11 related illnesses. And it's a really, really big deal, especially the first responders who were on the job for the cleanup. My uncle, who's in Local 14, he's an operating engineer, so he runs big cranes in the city. He was down here for a month working on the cleanup. And pretty much everybody who he worked with has really, really horrible, respiratory illnesses, 9/11 related diseases, cancers, all types of wild stuff, just from being down here working on the cleanup. So it's a lot bigger than most people come to know, right? Especially a lot of non-New Yorkers that don't know all the construction workers who spent months, if not years, down here cleaning up. It's a big issue. All right, Cedar Street. We're actually gonna make a left. We'll make a left now that no cars are coming. And this is going to bring us to Trinity Church and Wall Street. Hey, maxed performance. I'm not sure if I remember that exactly, but I may have helped some tourists find their way, for sure. Now this church here is very historic. This is Trinity Church, right at the beginning of Wall Street. Now one of the things we talked about tonight is obviously interest rates and how it could potentially impact. Oh, look at this big group of tourists here. That's kind of cool. It's good to see a lot of tourists coming back to the city. Look like international students. That's cool. One of the things we talked about is office vacancy rates in the city and how it's going to be a big issue when a lot of this debt comes up for refinancing at high interest rates. Now, right on the corner is a very notable building. It is called One Wall Street. I want everybody to look this up. It's very, very notable. And I'll tell you why. This building, right here, you can see the 456 subway stop. This is the city's largest condo conversion project ever. Now, it was developed by Maclo Properties. You might know the name Harry Maclo from 432 Park Avenue. 432 Park Avenue is one of the most recognizable buildings in New York City's skyline. It is one of the most luxurious and sought-after apartment buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row. I think the top penthouse at 432 Park Avenue was sold for just under $100 million, and the owners of the particular unit have never been there. The Alexander team, which used to be the top performing sales team at Douglas Elliman, they've since left to start their own brokerage. They have the listing for the resale, and I think it's on the market for $80 million. So the person's set to lose about $10 million, assuming that they can get that sales price, but they've never been in there. They've never been in the property, which is kind of crazy. So this is One Wall Street. These are ultra luxury condominiums. Now there's about 537 units in the building. That is huge. Massive, massive building, which can be off-putting to some people. But let me tell you, okay, this is such a unique building. I had the opportunity to do a preview of this building about 2 weeks ago. In every single unit, it has similar finishes to 432 Park Avenue. So for about a quarter of the price, you could have the same finishes and similar amenities to living on Billionaires Row. And this is the largest condo conversion project in New York City. Now, these are sort of like the, I would say the more modern style apartments within One Wall Street because it's encompassed in glass. Now, you could actually see the Mighty Bull. If you own that unit, this is actually one of the units I toured, from your living room, you have a direct view of the Mighty Bull on Broadway, which is really, really unique. This building comes with a massive saltwater swimming pool, a kids' playroom, a movie theater. I mean, any amenity you could imagine, in addition to your own private restaurant. So you have your own private restaurant and club right here on One Wall Street. If you want to take a look at what some of the apartments look like, go over and head over to my Instagram page where I've done some property tours in this building. Very, very impressed. However, it is under 50% sold. So it's not selling very well. And I think that one of the reasons why it's not selling very well goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the live stream. And that is office vacancy is very, very high in Lower Manhattan. So if not a lot of people are working down here, not a lot of people are going to live down here. But I think you need to stress on the fact that it's very close to the South Street Seaport, which is absolutely booming now. This is the first summer that the Tin Building is open for operation. They have bars, they have restaurants, they have very classic and very boutique grocery stores there. I mean, the place is freaking unbelievable, but people don't know about it. Not even a lot of New Yorkers know about the full revamp that has gone on at South Street Seaport. So I think a lot of the marketing for One Wall Street needs to be reframed to talk about the community. I understand there's not a lot of people who work down here anymore, but the city's trying to do everything in their power that they can to make this neighborhood fashionable again. And I think we're making a very, very big bet on the South Street Seaport, which we might have enough time to visit tonight. So yeah, check it out. If you go to, streeteasy.com, you can take a look at some of the model units. This is actually a really good view of one of the units that I toured. So imagine your living room is right here. You look out your living room and you can see the Mighty Bull. That is a unique apartment. Now, what's also very unique is I think it's the A line on the studios. You have direct views inside the New York Stock Exchange. It is so unique. I mean, think about that. I would buy something like that. So I think you need to focus more of the marketing like that. Now, how many people could say in the world, yeah, my apartment, my bedroom window looks at the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, seeing all the market makers running around. I mean, that's insane. So I think there just needs to be a better job of marketing the property. It's a big property. It's a big condo conversion, which could be pretty off-putting to some people. But I think it could sell better. I think they could, tweak their sales and marketing tactics to at least get that thing 50% sold. I mean, there's no reason why that thing shouldn't be 50% sold. I think it's maybe 20% sold, if that. Okay, let's check out the Mighty Bull. Hey, Rachel K says yes, but Battery Park in FIDA is dead. Yeah, that is the narrative down here. I actually used to work down here, 82 Wall Street. I was a couple buildings down from the old Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank actually just left and they moved to the Time Warner Center. So Deutsche Bank Tower right there, but not a lot of people know about South Street Seaport's being built up. So I think this neighborhood is going to become fashionable once again to live in. We'll see. Hey, AM9 says, hey Tom, I want to thank you. You gave me some great advice a few months ago about an application. I've just received a job offer to become a trainee corporate solicitor here in the UK. Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on your new job. That's fantastic. It makes me really happy. Congratulations on your success. But dude, you did that. It wasn't me. Don't credit your success to me. You're the one who took action and did what needed to be done to get the job done. So that's all on you, my friend. So congratulations on your new job. I'm sure you're going to be very successful there. We're walking right past the Mighty Bull, so maybe the Mighty Bull will give you some good luck for your new job. What do you guys think? I'm going to give the Mighty Bull a 10 out of 10 on the day. It looks gorgeous, and maybe this will help the market a little bit tomorrow. We'll know. Who knows? Hey, MBA Elias is Tom. Mainstream media focuses on food and energy prices and not on shelter costs and services inflation. You are 100% bang on, 100% accurate, and I think that's why, if you haven't already, type !CPI in the chat. That's going to bring you to the actual data. That's going to bring you right to the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, where you can look at the CPI based on category. So what MBA Elias said is 100% right. If you look at headline CPI, right, so there's really two categories. There's headline and then there's core CPI. Headline CPI, we'll just get away from Alicia Keys for a minute. Headline number includes very volatile food and energy prices. Core CPI strips out volatile food and energy. Now, almost every single category has rolled over and collapsed, but what's been very, very sticky and entrenched in our economy is shelter inflation. So again, not to sound like a broken record, I just think this is a really, really good free resource that nobody looks at. Again, if you type CPI, CPI in the chat, there's an interactive graph where you can go line item by line item and look at each individualized category of CPI. You could look at energy prices, food prices, shelter, used vehicles, new vehicles, every single category. You can see the inflation trends there. And I think that's so important to look at, if you want to try to predict what the Federal Reserve is going to do next. But I don't know, I guess I'll ask the audience here, because we do have a very diverse audience that lives not only in the United States, but all over the world. What are you seeing? Are you seeing prices coming down for things, or in general, have things continued to go up? And this is in relation to food at the grocery store, maybe your energy bill, maybe your Con Ed bill, car insurance, new vehicles. Maybe you're in the market to buying a car. Maybe you're in the market for buying a used vehicle. Have you seen prices taper off at all? Or sort of what are you guys seeing out there? Eric says, when you have Bidenomics, you know you're screwed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Joe Biden fan, but I also think he gets a little bit too much blame for the inflation, actually. And I'm like probably the biggest Biden critic. I'm a conservative, but I do think that Joe Biden actually gets a little bit too much blame for the inflation. Not to get political. I respect all political parties. I respect everybody's opinion on that, but so LW Hunter says everything's been going up for me. MBA Elias says I've paid $600 last week for a plumbing. No way for a plumber to unclog. Service inflation is raging. Holy crap. Whoa, $600 for a plumbing job. Hopefully it worked. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom says, hey Tom, food, gas, utility, and homeowners insurance has gone up. You know, Hang with Mark Mom, for whatever reason, by the grace of God, my homeowner's insurance actually went down a little bit. I have no idea what the hell happened. I think it's because I'm in flood zone X. My property is in South Florida, but I actually got a little bit of a break on my homeowner's insurance. Rachel K says things are going up. Joel PM says dining up, but everybody's still dining. Yeah, dining out has been getting really, really crazy to the point where it's very noticeable. I've noticed that here in Manhattan as well. Look at this beagle. It was the most adorable beagle puppy I've ever seen in my life. Booyo says no people outside. Yeah, so this is Lower Manhattan. There's not a lot of people in Lower Manhattan, especially after 6 p.m. on a Friday. Lower Manhattan really empties out for sure. But if you guys have been enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We tend to do these walks starting at 8:30 p.m. exploring New York City and talking about the financial markets and other topics. Hey, Dusty Cole is here, Richard Vogel, Joe Ratz, photos from around New York. RK, slight to little to no change in prices. Everything is high, says RK. Justin S says, has your renter's insurance in New York City gone up if you have it? You know, I don't have renter's insurance, but I'm on month-to-month basis now. So I've not signed a 12-year lease. 12-year lease, did I just say that? 12-month lease. Yeah, not 12-year lease. I have not signed a 12-month lease yet. So, no, but I did have renter's insurance in my last building, but it was through a company called Lemonade, which I actually think may be, well, I'll bite my tongue on that company. But anyway, it was just like a BS renter's insurance. I think it was like 25 bucks. A name is here, welcome. Will's Austrian Economics has entered the chat. Good to see you, Will. Carl Ross's mortgage rates are stable here. Banks have taken the bold move to keep payments affordable with 35-year mortgages. I'm assuming Carl is talking about Canada. Carl is joining us from our beautiful neighbor to the north, the Canadians. Good to see you guys. So we've made it, team. This is the beautiful New York Stock Exchange at 18 Broad Street. Check that out. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the New York Stock Exchange. Hey, Lewis, good to see you. Welcome. Capri says you can buy glasses for $5 at Williams. Interesting. All right, let's push on here to the Brooklyn Bridge. Man, the New York Stock Exchange is beautiful. Now, I'll sort of show you what I mean when I say One Wall Street. Some of the units actually literally look into the floor of the stock exchange. You can see once we get on the corner here. This is Federal Hall. This is actually where George Washington was inaugurated. Look at this doggo here. This is where George Washington was inaugurated, but unfortunately, it is going to be covered in scaffolding for 10 years, which is unfortunate. But look at that. So you can see some of the apartment units, and they look inside the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, which is crazy. So I believe this is the A line right here. So all of those apartments, you're looking down on the floor. You could actually see the traders running around down there. It's kind of cool. There's not too many traders down there anymore, as you know. The New York Stock Exchange is mainly a studio for television, for CNBC. It's not really what it was before electronic trading, algorithmic trading, and the like. Now, on our way to the Brooklyn Bridge, we're actually going to pass the Federal Reserve, which is where the majority of the world's gold reserves are. I think 10 stories underground. Hey, Brad says, has anybody thought about buying stock in companies that are involved in artificial intelligence? Yeah, I mean, I think the big, if you think about big mega cap tech, just look at the percentage of research and development spend on AI. Now, this is a topic we talked about extensively last week, and not just AI, really about robotics and automation. Now, we gave a few real-world examples. I think one of the coolest and most local examples of automation actually comes from a company called Sweetgreen. So if you type !sweet in the chat, SWEET, you're actually going to see a video of a fully autonomous, fully automated robotic store of Sweetgreen. Now, what I'm most excited about and most bullish about as it relates to automation, this is the Federal Reserve, by the way, that we're looking at now, but as it relates to automation, as it relates to machine learning and AI, is I think it's going to expand corporate profit margins or gross margins way more than anybody is ever expecting. And this is just one very, very small example of a quick service restaurant, right? You know, think about the largest cost to a business, such as Sweetgreen, Chipotle, any of the other QSR restaurants. It's employees, it's paying their employees. Now, imagine if you could have a fully autonomous store that is just run by robots, and the only employees that are there are just prepping the food. The robots always give out the exact portion of food, right? It's not like at Chipotle, sometimes they're skimping on the customers. Sometimes, you know, you always have your go-to guy or girl at Chipotle that's going to give you a huge scoop of chicken. You know, that all factors into the bottom line. It may not seem like it, but it does. Robots don't make mistakes, right? They pour out the exact portions that are proposed by the corporation. So all of that over time is going to add up to a hell of a lot of money. It's going to streamline their operational efficiencies. It's going to give customers a better customer experience. I think it's going to make online order and pay seamless. And I think corporate profit margins are going to absolutely go skyward. And you're just starting to see this now. You know, 10 years ago, if you were to walk into a McDonald's, just 10 years ago, think about that, you couldn't order on a kiosk. And that's just 10 years ago, right? You walked into a McDonald's, there was no touch screens to order your food. Okay, you would wait in line with everybody else and talk to a human being. Now, in some McDonald's, particularly in New York City, you don't talk to people. You literally just punch in your order on the kiosk, you pay there, it spits you out your receipt, and your employees hand you the food. And if they don't hand you the food, they leave it on the counter and they just call your number. You know, that's going to become everywhere. That is coming everywhere. And I think it's going to get even more ingrained into their operational process. Pretty soon, there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 people working at each restaurant, just facilitating and watching over the robots. All right, let me make sure. I have a tendency to get sidetracked here. We did take a little bit of a detour, but this is good because we get to go by 130 William again. And I thought we were going to miss it today, but we're not going to. So we're going to make a right on Fulton Street by the Joe's Pizza. But first, we'll take a look at the beautiful World Trade Center. Look at that. This is probably one of my favorite views of One World Trade Center right here. Really nice. Hey, dogs, as we have McDonald's kiosks where I live here in Cancun. I think anything that will be automated probably, actually I'll rephrase it. Anything that can be automated probably will be automated. Eric says, yeah, AI is going to hurt the economy for having less jobs. I respectfully disagree with that. Maybe you're right. Maybe you'll be right, Eric. But here's sort of how I explain it. And again, I could be wrong. This is just my thesis. The problem that's going to happen is that, you know, there's always a different disruption cycle. Look at the Industrial Revolution. Look at the internet. Look at cloud computing. Those were all specific disruption cycles that absolutely decimated jobs. But on the flip side, what happened? They also created new jobs, but those new jobs required a completely different set of skills. The issue that I think that I'm seeing with AI is that the jobs that are most vulnerable to disruption from artificial intelligence, from machine learning, those people that are going to unfortunately be thrown out of the jobs, they will not have the skills necessary to take the new jobs that are created by artificial intelligence. It's going to be very, very hard skills, and that's why I think even governments need to be a little bit proactive here in retraining and retooling its citizens to operate functionally in this new economy, right? It needs to be a huge job training push, right, into STEM fields, into mathematics. Essentially anything STEM, I think, is going to be very sought after, as well as the trades. So if you think about HVAC, electricians, plumbers, I think that is still going to be very sought after. You know, artificial intelligence is not going to replace and disrupt the plumber. It's just not going to happen. So I think those are the type of jobs that are going to be very, very sought after. Now, everybody, we've officially made it to 130 William. This is one of my favorite new developments in all New York City. In 2022, this was the best-selling building in New York. It's about 90% sold out, and it is absolutely gorgeous. If you want to see what some of the apartments look like inside here, if you go over to my Twitter page, @WalksWallStreet, or our IG page, which is also Walks Wall Street, you could see some of the individual apartment units. Now, I think the thing that I like the most about this building is the windows. They all have these very interesting arch sort of style features. Depending on the floor that you live on, you have amazing unobstructed views of the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Williamsburg Bridge. It's an unbelievable building. It has a saltwater pool, it has a gym, it has a basketball court. Anything you could imagine, it has. I think it even has a bowling alley in there too. Unbelievable building, and I think if Hawaii is in the chat, that's our favorite building in New York. I think Olympia Dumbo gives it a little bit of run for its money, but that's here nor there. Once we go on Fulton Street, you'll actually be able to see a little bit better view of the facade of the building. Hey, John Abraham says, Tom, my concern is that AI is sensitive to manipulate in many ways. I think that's a valid concern. For sure, it's a valid concern. All right, check this out. This is actually the pool. Now, the pool is amazing. Now, the architect on the building did an amazing job, really, really fantastic job, because all of the amenities in this building, you can see notes and hints of the amenities in the actual units. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at a video of what the pool looks like, and I have that either up on my YouTube page or my Instagram, you can check it out. The pool looks like all of the sinks and the faucets in the individual units. It's just expanded for larger size or scale. So the attention to detail is really, really amazing. And the pool actually has a faucet that looks like it's a sink. Hopefully I'm explaining that right, but it is such a unique development. And again, you have these gorgeous views of One World Trade Center as well. I know Joel PM says it would be cooler to see the people swimming past the windows. Unfortunately, we can't get that high. There's also an amazing roof deck at the top of 130 William, and they've set aside 5 or 6 individualized cabanas that you're able to purchase with your units. Now, the cabanas start at about $500,000, which is, you know, a little pricey, but if you're in the market for a $19 million New York City penthouse, what's the extra $500,000? Mikey G says, I don't think we're going to make it to the bridge. I don't think we're going to make it either. So let's actually head over to the bridge right now. We're only an hour and a half into the stream. We'll make it. Good thing I read that comment when I did. I was about to take you guys all the way down to the South Street Seaport. Then we definitely would not have made it to the Brooklyn Bridge. But now we are going to be steadfast over the bridge because I think there's going to be amazing views tonight. Not a cloud in the sky, very clear in the city. So let's head to the Brooklyn Bridge right now. Hey, Daniel G says, hey Tom, nice walk tonight. While you're talking to, I'm developing a new app, and guess who is helping me a lot? Yes, ChatGPT. Wow. Super cool. That's right. So Daniel G is a software engineer from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Any other developers in the chat that have been using ChatGPT to, either check over your code or to help you write code? I actually really like ChatGPT too. I was very resistant and hesitant to it in the beginning. Rachel K says, what do the units go for? I think they start at 2.5. I think they start at 1.5 for like a studio, and then they go up from there. But Rachel, if you want to see some video of some tours, virtual tours of 130 William, I usually post them on my YouTube Shorts or my IG page. So anytime I have the opportunity to go see one of these new developments and get a tour from the architect or the sales team, I always try to get some video if they allow. Zane says, Tom, I am, and AI is surprisingly great at co-programming. Davi says, I use GitHub Copilot more frequently. This is Pace University to the right. It's actually a very notable business school as well. Lifted CS says, Tom, ChatGPT seems like a great personal assistant. Hey, Junior says, hey, Tom and Chatters, when are you landing in San Francisco and are you going to stream while you're there? I probably won't be able to do any live streams in San Francisco, honestly. If all goes well, I should be in San Francisco the last week of August. Now, here's the catch. Here's the catch. I may not be able to go if this big pitch that I'm working on goes really well. Because if it goes really well, that means I'm going to be in Sarasota, Florida the last week of August. So either or, I'll either be in Sarasota or I'm going to be in San Francisco the last week of August. Okay, we are now going to make a right, and this will take us to the pedestrian path of the Brooklyn Bridge. We'll quickly do an earnings recap for next week, everybody. It is Sunday, so this is the Markets to Look Ahead stream. It's kind of a light week for earnings, not going to lie. Last week was the big week where we had all of the big mega cap tech stocks reporting. But this week we have Eli Lilly, we have UPS, and I think the biggest name for the week is going to be Disney. Disney is reporting earnings, and Disney's really been taking it on the chin lately. Now, I'm not a Disney shareholder, but I'm always very intrigued to hear the results. Mainly because I think Disney is a very good gauge to be used as a proxy for the health of the American consumer, right? So maybe a little bit of consumer spending insight there, if people are spending money at the parks. This is where that guy threw all those pizzas over the gate here. Anybody remember that video? There was a gentleman that was protesting the decision. It's so hot out. There was a gentleman that was protesting the decision for New York City to shut down the coal and gas-fired ovens and the guy came here, like this real Staten Island guy, started throwing pizza pies over the fence here at City Hall. Hilarious. Anybody see that? That was like what was that? That was about a month ago now, I think he did that. Hey, New York, yeah, you saw that? Yeah. Well, I'm getting a quick look at the Brooklyn Bridge. It looks like we're gonna have a lot of traffic tonight. Both pedestrian and street traffic too. Tracks 102, this is where you have a live stream on Staten Island. We have before, but I live and work in Manhattan, so it's kind of hard for me to get out to Staten Island. Whenever we take the Staten Island ferry, we technically go to Staten Island, right? We really don't leave the terminal, but very, very seldom do we leave Manhattan. And that's mainly just due to time. Because sometimes I'm working from 7:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night, and then we jump on the stream at like 8:45, 9 o'clock, and I just don't have time. I don't have time to travel. Okay, we've officially made it to the pedestrian path on the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, I do want to point out something for those new viewers that may be thinking about coming to New York City on vacation. The city of New York did something very, very smart. Now, notice you have two distinct paths here. The path that I'm on is the dedicated pedestrian path, and they've since moved the bike lane down onto the street level. So no more are you going to have to worry about, weaving in and out of bikes, scooters, and even mopeds and Vespas. They have their own dedicated lane on the lower level of the bridge, which allows the pedestrians and tourists to kind of enjoy the bridge more, which I think is a really good decision by the city of New York to do that. In my view, it was very unsafe. I'm sure the majority of you who are watching this stream have probably walked the Brooklyn Bridge separation, and it was very, very dangerous. Last night we were on the Manhattan Bridge, and do you notice the difference between the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge? There was absolutely nobody on the Brooklyn Bridge, or on the Manhattan Bridge last night. Literally nobody. And tonight on the Brooklyn Bridge, there's tons of people. And look at all this Sunday night traffic of all the cars getting on the Brooklyn Bridge to head back to Brooklyn, New York. Crazy. Ooh, Joel PM. You know what? That was Made in New York Pizza on West 80th Street. That's one of my favorite pizza spots in New York on the Upper West Side. It's a great spot. Beautiful view of One World Trade Center. And check this out. So this is 130 William. This is the building I was just showing you guys about 10 minutes ago on the live stream. Now imagine the views from that building. It's really unbelievable. You have unobstructed views of pretty much all lower Manhattan, and the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Manhattan Bridge, and the Williamsburg Bridge, all the way to downtown Brooklyn. It's an amazing, amazing development. let's continue on. Decent heavy traffic for this time of night. Yeah, well, it's Sunday night. Everybody's, headed out of the city, headed back home. And there's a ton of traffic piling up on the bridge. It's getting very windy too. So the building there that you see in the distance is One Manhattan Square. That's the same developer that developed 157 and Central Park Tower, the Xtel Group. Hey, sunshine after rain, what's up? Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us. Happy Sunday. Hopefully your weekend was great. Now, all the way in the distance here, that little white rope looking thing in the background, that's the Verrazano Bridge that connects Brooklyn, New York to Staten Island. Okay, we're almost halfway over. Now, right down here is Water Street. Man, the wind is really picking up here, though. If you look at the top of the Brooklyn Bridge, you'll see the American flag blowing in the breeze. It's probably like 15-mile-an-hour gusts up here. It's getting very windy. Okay, we are almost on the bridge. I would say the main, iconic walking area of the bridge. All right, we made it. We are officially on the bridge. Looking very beautiful tonight. You can see those classic arches. But in the distance to the left, if you look to the left, you'll see the Manhattan Bridge, which is actually where we walked over last night. It's kind of cool to see it. So if you go back to our live stream last night, we were actually walking over this bridge, which I think is a little bit better view in my opinion. Arguably way better views, and almost no people ever walk over the Manhattan Bridge, at least not tourists. All right, but in the distance, here's view number one. This is the Empire State Building. Beautiful view, unobstructed view from the Brooklyn Bridge. Looks great tonight. And then you see 130 William in the distance, and the World Trade Center, One World Trade Center. Looks great. And this is the brand new South Street Seaport that we were talking about. You could actually see the Tin Building, which is right here. This is the first summer that the Tin Building is in operation. It has restaurants, it has bars, it has grocery stores. Really anything you could imagine is down there. And just use your imagination for the views of the bridges, of the river, of the water. It's really a stunning location to be on the island of Manhattan. This is probably the most iconic shot of the Brooklyn Bridge here. And you have One Manhattan Square. Hey, Thomas Vega says we'll definitely be visiting the Tin Building next time I'm in South Street Seaport. You're going to love it. I think you're going to be really, really impressed with it. I think they did a great job. So since we're even further over the bridge, you'll be able to see the Chrysler Building. And you'll be able to see 432 Park Avenue. Check this out. Now, we spoke about One Wall Street. This right here, my friends, is 432 Park Avenue. So Harry Maclo Properties, they also did One Wall Street, which is the largest condo conversion in New York City. And this right here is the Chrysler Building. That little the little speck right there. Look at the water. The current looks pretty rough. And then this is the World Trade Center amongst the cables of the bridge. Once we get to the middle, you'll actually be able to see the Statue of Liberty. So this is the Verrazano Bridge. This is Staten Island, this is Brooklyn. And right over here is sort of the South Ferry terminal, where you can get the Staten Island ferry for free. You know, I've been hearing on the news about a new scam that's been going on in New York, where there's people that are standing around the South Ferry, Staten Island Ferry terminal, selling tickets to the Staten Island Ferry. Now, I heard about this on Here Be Bar's channel. If you're interested in traveling to New York City, I think you probably need to watch that channel first. It's all about traveling to New York City. And supposedly what he says, John, he says there's people standing at the terminal trying to sell tickets to the Staten Island Ferry, but it's free. So maybe there's a new scheme or scam going on. This is One Vanderbilt, all the way in the distance. You see One Vanderbilt in 432 Park. And right over here is the Hudson Yards. So this is the entire Hudson Yards development. This is a really nice view of the Manhattan Bridge in the distance. And this is Olympia Dumbo right here. This is one of the newest developments to Dumbo, Brooklyn. It is a beautiful, beautiful luxury apartment complex with 2 swimming pools and a tennis court on the roof. But everybody, I hope you enjoyed the live stream tonight. I think we covered a lot. We had very good conversation. I think the biggest things to know about this week coming up is Eli Lilly, UPS, and Walt Disney reporting earnings, and it's also going to be inflation week. So we are going to hear from the Bureau of Labor Statistics as they release the CPI numbers as well. If you enjoyed the stream, feel free to come back tomorrow at 8:30. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed tonight. If you want to connect with us off YouTube, feel free to click the links in the description. You can sign up for our free investing newsletter, Behind the Street Substack. You can follow us on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, and check us out on IG. I want to wish everybody a very happy rest of the weekend and a very successful start to the week on Monday. So fascinating, thank you so much. Joan K, Rachel K, Hang with Mark Mom, Sally, Phillip, thank you so much for joining us. Bernard Conte, Gary Carpenter, UniJ23, Hawaii, all of our great moderators, GGNYC, Richard Vogel, thank you so much. Ryan Beck, appreciate it. Sunshine After Rain, DM, enjoy the rest of your Sunday night and have a great Monday. Tom AK, there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Wishing you all the best for a successful week ahead. See you all tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. on Walks on Wall Street. Take it easy, everybody. See you soon.